funsies. I want to talk to
Yeah.
cool people. It's
Yeah.
like the joke going around when I was thinking about starting this is like, oh, good, another straight white male starting a podcast with his friends. I'm like, "Ah, got me, you got me. It's like go to therapy. I'm like, no, I don't want to. I want to
No,
do
that's
this.
not fun.
It's not fun at all.
I'll
All
just
right, Seabass, we rolling, brother?
Yeah, ready whenever.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we got a very special episode of the Strange Herd podcast here today. One of my longtime best pals, nuisance to anybody that is outside the Brookwood cluster, the one and only Gabe Ellentony.
I didn't know what to do. That's the best I had.
Dude, no, it's good, man. I'm just so grateful, like, and for people watching this that are like, why isn't he in the bunker and stuff? It's like, well, he's all the way in far off lands doing incredible things, drinking a purple Stanley.
Purple off-brand Stanley. That's just
That a
got
boy.
it's got that spicy, bubbly water in it.
Ooh. But yeah, man. But for those who don't know Gabe, he is not only just a genuinely great person and all around fun hang, but he's an incredible. What would you? Is it fair to say you're a lighting engineer or just general production engineer? Like, how would you describe your profession, sir?
I usually say I'm a lighting designer for live events.
Nice.
That's how I would usually put it. LD for short.
LD lighting, yeah, because back in the day, like we would you and me both went to the same like church that had a great like productions team and everything, and you got in
Yeah.
there and just started like learning from the ground up, or like what was your come up? Because we were talking before is one of the cool things is I've had musicians and stuff on the podcast, and you kind of are the extra secret sauce to those big shows.
Yeah. So for me, I did start. It actually started in school, in high school, when I was doing theater, and I was like, "Oh, look at this big board that controls all these lights. That's pretty neat." Uh, and then I had a buddy at the church that we went to that was like, "Hey, you should try doing the lighting here as well." Um, so then I started doing that a little bit, and then everything really just kind of spiraled out of control from there.
That's one way to put it.
I just kind of fell into where I am.
But the cool part is that you go on tour and stuff with some, pretty. Is it like you said it, I think once before it was like a company that kind of gets booked as an agency to like go on these big, like you're in stadiums.
So the way it works for me is I'm an independent contractor. So I just work for myself. And then
Even better.
I essentially have clients, but my clients are uh different production AV companies. So that production company will get a tour and they're looking for a lighting guy, so the production company will hire me. It's how that works most of the time.
Mm.
Um there's a few people I work with where it's I work directly for the artists themselves, so not through a production company. Um, one of my main ones right now is Lecrae, who is uh, I say gospel hip hop artist or a Christian rapper, however you prefer. So I work directly for him, but also in like a contract situation. So
Yeah, and I mean, where was it a couple weeks back? You were overseas somewhere. Was it? I've never been to London a few times, and then
I've been to London a few times for some shows. Last year we did Romania, which was interesting.
ooh, go and giving the
Uh,
Tate brothers a visit.
I
I'm
found him.
kidding.
Got him. We got him, boys. Uh, we did Amsterdam and Rotterdam, which those were awesome. Big fan. Love Amsterdam. Have you been to Amsterdam, Jared?
I've only gone as far as Kosovo and Albania, and that's pretty much it. Just we went there once together back with the church a while
Yeah.
back, and yeah, other than that, I'm trying to get back over there. I'm not gonna lie, like the COVID stuff freaked me out about traveling internationally because in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, the one time I decide to go, it's going to be the next round, and I'm going to get stuck somewhere.
Yeah.
But I did renew my passport and everything. I'm gearing up. I want to do it. I'm been Funny like enough is like I've been wanting to really go over to like the UK, Belgium in particular because my old band Trombley Bay. I've had Joey and some of the guys on the podcast, Joseph and stuff. God, Shoeless Joe, I miss him. He was
Rest in
out there
peace.
ready. I'm not dead. But I remember like with that band, I got a message one day. I think it was on Reverb and SoundCloud and stuff that they like we hit some like benchmark of streams or like downloads in Belgium to where they're
Hmm.
like, hey, with your permission, we'd like to protect this like this track or two. I think it was like something new and Man Behind It All and a couple songs we done writ. Sorry about that grammar.
Done did
But
right.
we done did writ some songs and the people in Belgium apparently really liked them. And yeah, so I want to go to Belgium just because I have this fantasy in my head that Trombley Bay is like a huge band in Belgium that no one knows about, and it's like we can just make our comeback. We're big in Belgium, boys.
that's
But
that's where our demographic is.
yeah, dude. I mean, but yeah, I definitely. And then I, looking at me, a lot of people assume I have some Spanish or something in me. But I'm hoping it's Viking because I just want to go to the Nordic countries so bad. I want to go pretend and like I want to go cosplay or LARP around as a Viking over in, in that part of the world.
Yeah, you could pull it off for sure.
I'm just about 2 or 3 feet shorter than the average Viking.
You just got hobbled or something when you were younger, you know? Can't
Exactly.
help
It's
it.
like it just got watered down a little bit. But
Yeah.
I mean, uh, one of the things, speaking of international travel, isn't it true like just for working purposes, like you got to get a work visa for everywhere? There's like you really can't like, especially as an independent contractor, you can't really go over there just for like, unless you like strictly bring no equipment, no nothing. Like you have to like kind of always say that you're working.
So, yes, but I usually don't deal with that part. So if I'm contracted to do some shows overseas, the management takes care of all of it. So,
Nice.
and not every country, like depending on what you're doing, you don't necessarily need the work visa in every country. Um, like Canada is a good example. I've do shows in Canada a good bit, and like you usually tell them in customs, like, "Oh, I'm here for work," and then they ask you what you do, and you're like, "Oh, I work for concerts, doing a show there," and they usually just like, "Cool, whatever, let you
Yeah.
through." But
And
there are some countries where you need the full work visa, but management takes care of that. And then if you are traveling with gear, that's the tough one
oof.
because it's I just had a friend who had to deal with this. He has a band he manages, and they did a bunch of shows in Asia this last summer.
Oh no, what happened?
And he had to figure out you have to have a manifest of all the gear you have.
Yeah,
Um,
makes sense.
and like how much it all costs, so that way they know you're not coming in buying gear for cheap and leaving with it. So they want to track all that coming in and out of the country.
There
Um,
goes one of my side hustle ideas.
and but there's like no instructions anywhere on how to do any of this stuff, so you just have to kind of call people until you get an idea of what you're supposed to do. uh and then like it's like finding the forms you need, and it turns into a whole big to do.
Yeah. I mean, I remember one time I still have some friends from Kosovo and stuff, and I was like, bro, is there a place, somebody, is there an email, is there a WhatsApp number, something you can give me just to like, hey, there's an American rock band that would love to come perform for you guys. If you could just help us get there, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And then I started looking into what it would cost and this was like a year or two ago, and it was just, I was like just crazy thinking of like, man, with enough willpower and just like get after it, boy. It's like we can maybe do that because it'd just be super fun.
Yeah.
But then I started looking into how much it would cost just a drum set, even like a simple kit like I have right behind me.
Hmm.
Like just the getting that over there and things like that is just insane. And so I even did think about like, what if we just kind of, maybe buy stuff or see if there's something we can rent over there. The logistics of it is mind-boggling. So I mean, the fact that you have a management company to do that for you has got to be a huge weight off your shoulders.
Yeah, and usually for that kind of stuff, like there's a handful of gear that we would bring with us, but there's a lot of stuff we just rent over there, which
Yeah,
that's usually the role of the production manager is usually making sure all that is lined up and set up for the band. So like when we do travel overseas with a drummer, we don't bring the whole kit, but he flies with like his cymbals,
Yeah, stuff that you
and
can
that's it.
kind of hand
Yeah,
carry.
yeah, something easy. And then we get as close to his kit as we can overseas.
Yeah. I mean, dude, there's just so much when it comes like to that kind of stuff. I mean, I want those problems. Believe me, I want those problems. I want to have all the logistic headaches of like, oh no, we left the drum cases or we left the cymbal bag in like Bangkok and we're playing in Amsterdam.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, like it's just one of those things. And one of the things I want to ask you in particular about your like role in it is when it comes to like the lighting, it's is it fair to say it's like choreographed, like everything is mapped out in such a way that it's kind of like I don't want to say it's like press and play, but it's like you have everything kind of set up to where you can trigger stuff, or is it like how do you like set up a show?
So there's basically there's two types of shows that I would run. So there's one called busking or punting, which that is doing everything live. So nothing is pre-programmed. Like I'll have this is actually my console over here. I'll have set faders for like spotlights, wash lights, all that, strobe buttons, different stuff, and so I'm just hitting it live. That's almost like just playing an instrument basically with the band. Um, so that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it, which is more common when I'm touring or when I'm with an artist I'm with like kind of more full time, is pre-programmed, which is what you're thinking, kind of like the press and play kind of situation.
Yeah.
So I'll get the set that they're playing. I usually get an Ableton file, so I'll get that and listen to it. I'll go through, program all the songs, uh, pre-program them on my console, and then what I do is I take in the Ableton track. There is a single line of SMPTE, which is basically like a digital clock.
Okay.
That goes into my console, and I can record on that digital timeline. So then when they go to play the tracks, it queues up everything cue for cue on my console when it gets that digital clock.
Okay. And so as a creative, I'm guessing you kind of like do you like kind of doing it more by just like the feel, like you know what songs are on the set list, and then you can kind of just like play around with it a little bit more, or
It it honestly depends on how how I feel on that day. There's some days I'm like, yeah, I'll just hit play. This is fine, and I can just sit back and relax for a little bit. But
depends how
there's
depends how
some days
bad
I'm like, yeah,
yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. I was like, and there's some days I'm like, yeah, I feel like jamming out right now. Let's get funky with it. So
Yeah, it depends how bad the jet lag is usually.
yeah.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there's been a handful of places we've played at as a band that have an actual decent lighting setup.
Hmm.
Because I mean, it's really it's interesting because we've talked about it with some of the other musicians and artists I've had on the podcast, where it's a lot of us we're trying to just make a living first off, trying to do this. So we play a lot of the menu venues as we call them,
Yeah.
and a lot of cover shows and stuff. But and breaking into those other bigger venues that have those kind of lighting setups, it's so fun because when you play some covers that the lighting guy either
Knows.
loves or knows,
Hmm.
he's back there just like lights are going off crazy, or he knows like the big cut, like a big drop is coming on, so he shuts off all the lights, and
Yeah.
it's such a great addition to a live show. And I mean, beyond having a great band, if you can have a great light engineer, like lighting designer behind there, like, oh my god, it's such a great feeling just to like be on stage knowing that there's somebody like this omnipotent force in the background that's like, "Oh, I know what you boys are doing. I got you. I want to add a little extra sauce to this."
I got you boys right now. I know what you're getting down to. I
Oh yeah,
got you.
you getting down and dirty. Do you for bands and stuff, like do you have like the talkback mics in your ears? Can you hear what they're saying and stuff?
I do actually. Usually, I'll do. I have like a little squawk box, I call it,
Mm,
and that line just runs from the front of house desk, and it's usually just all talkbacks.
bro.
Um, and then if it's bands like I'm comfortable with, like I'll also get on the talkback. Like I have my own talkback, so I can talk with them, which is mostly just shit talking. But
Yes. Dude,
You know,
I was joking around. So I've been like making some upgrades to like my band's like overall system and stuff, and bought a mixer that's got the talkback in ear capabilities and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I've let the guys have talkback mics, which is the best and worst mistake and improvement I've made. Like the last two shows we had talkback mics, and the bass player Jaden, like it became the whole band like saying, "Let's see if we can get Jared to laugh." Like it's just,
It's incredible that literally and any band, the minute they introduce talkbacks, like it is very helpful for coordinating,
yes.
also immediately used for talking trash. Immediately.
And I mean, the best part about it is a lot of the people in the last couple shows, the feedback we got from the crowd, they were like, "Man, you guys just all seem so in sync, and like you just all were up there just having the best time." I was like, "You couldn't hear the things, the horrible, horrible things that they were being said in the microphone."
I I had this one band I used to do some stuff with, and I think they're like one of their guitar players like left. I think he just moved with his wife somewhere else. Um, and so because he used to say just the wildest stuff in talkback. Uh, and so when he left, him and the front of house guy recorded a whole bunch of stuff that he used to say,
Oh
and
no.
and the front of house guy he put it on a cue pad in the ears, so just randomly he could just hit it. I remember there was one that was he was like, "Hey, see that guy front row? What do you think his balls smell like?"
Ah!
So
Just having a soundboard of like, oh my god.
yeah,
Like we one of the covers we love to play is Kings of Leon's "Sex on Fire," and then
nice.
Ethan the drummer's just like sex, 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 just as like the in metronome, and I was like, God dang it! and, and then like the best part was is since they've never really had a talkback mic feature before. The
Yeah,
first show, they were kind of just real timid with it. They were like, "All right," just like, "All right, going to the bridge." It was very straight, and then or like a few, and then once the second show that we got, everyone kind of was way way more comfortable, and it was just like the comments about the audience and stuff. They were just like, "You guys see that guy about?" Like this one dude was trying his hardest to like make like he was dancing with this girl, and he like did a full on like power slide on his knees across this dirty bar floor, and he
yeah.
got about 3 inches of just and then like smacked right into her belly.
Got that nice beer stickiness, and then pop.
Oh, dude, completely underestimated the amount of friction that he was going to generate in that. And we just could not stop laughing. And then like Ethan's got this just lovingly obnoxious like giggle that I can't help when I hear it. Like it is infectious. And no matter what I'm doing, I start cracking up. And then everyone's like, "Why is Jared like what was so funny? You guys kept laughing on stage." It's like I want to do a thing where like record some of it, and so we can like sync it up with clips. It's like what you think is the band hears versus what they really hear.
Yeah, yep. I don't think people in like that are attending concerts know just how much shit talk is happening on stage, and a
Oh
lot
yeah,
about them.
and it's like we're just like, "Hey, do you guys see that dude that's passed out in like like the third or fourth row back?"
Yeah,
Like it's like, should we throw something at him? It's like, use a broken drumstick. Just throw something that we can afford to lose.
yeah. Like for us, if we're full crewed, we'll have lighting and then front of house, and then side stage we'll have a monitor and a video guy, and all
Nice.
of us will be on talkbacks with the band. And so it usually just ends up into taking pictures of somebody and then getting on talkbacks like, look at this fucking guy and
Look,
sending it.
yeah. Oh my god, dude. It's such a great thing, and it reminds me of like the difference of playing a game like when you just hop on like, if you play like Apex or Fortnite or Call of Duty or whatever, where you're just on there by yourself
Hmm.
versus having all the boys on talking on the it's just it was a huge morale boost, so I think it's an
Yeah.
overall positive for the band, but oh my I had to like go back to the guys. I'm like, "You guys are about to get muted. Like I can't do this."
Yeah.
Cuz
It's
at the
so
Yeah, just at the end of the day, I'm like, guys, if we get too carried away, or if you have too many pitchers of beer, and we start getting a little crazy, I will have to mute you.
yeah. And that's also one of those things that's it's useful to have like the extra people around you. So like if you have your own sound guy, like what we do is at least for like Lecrae, he doesn't get talkbacks in his ear unless it's an emergency or like we have to tell him something.
It's like, hey, hold on, like we got to we just talk for a second. We got to like kind of reroute something.
Exactly, yeah. So then our monitor guy side stage will pipe the drummer in his ears and be like, "Hey, we got to transition to this song instead and kill it." And then we're
Yeah,
back to shit talking. But that's just so he can stay focused.
yeah. I'd need to have that guy on the team here soon. Of course, with the things that my guys would saying and stuff. But it's so nice because like I feel like as a band we're starting to kind of make those steps into the next level of professionalism. Like another thing that
Yeah.
I just bought was the Line 6 Helix pedal
Yeah, yeah,
board.
yeah. You're mentioning
Bro,
that.
I am like I was stuck in the dark ages of where everything was just straight wired into an amp pedal board, and I still do love pedals. Like I mean, there's
Yeah.
things that it's like the vinyl versus like MP3 file kind of thing. I feel
Yeah, yeah.
like nowadays it's
Well,
so close, but
pedals I understand and amps I understand for recording or smaller venues and stuff, I guess. But also controversial opinion. I'm
here we
also
go.
not a guitar player or musician or anything. Amps in a live setting are dumb and there's no point in having them. They blast backstage. It's impossible to hear anything. My ears are bleeding.
Yeah, that's like one of the things, especially in some of these venues where it's like maybe like 200 people max. Like a venue like that size,
Yeah.
the drums alone will be so loud to where it's like if you have amps and everything trying to compete with that, it's so loud. And a lot of people, especially the way that we're running it now, we all have the both guitar players, bass, everything's like through one of the amp modular pedals.
Yeah.
And it's just the drums that are like in the
It's
drum. I'm like, go for it, man. Like there's no amps to compete with. You can do whatever you want now. Like,
it's also more practical, like just getting around easier, just a couple pedal boards and that's it.
oh yeah,
But like the thing with amps in a live setting, I'm also not an audio guy, but I have talked to a lot of my audio friends, and it's like there's so many steps in between your guitar and the PA that it's different than like using an amps in a recording setting,
yeah,
where it's basically guitar, amp, uh, to microphone to recording. There are so many steps in between for live that it's like it just takes the front of house guy at one time going like, "Eh," and tweaking one thing, and the tone is completely different now. So it's like,
yeah,
why lug around the amps? Like, yeah, you can get like very minute details that you want, but you can get pretty dang close in a Helix or a
yeah,
Kemper or anything like that. And unless you're on like top of the line PA systems with top of the line engineers, I don't think anybody will really notice a difference. But
yeah.
some people have their systems and they like doing it. Uh, but also, I hate going backstage and seeing a riser full of amps turned all the way to 10.
Oh yeah. I
And
mean, I get
I
it,
I already have tinnitus. I don't need it anymore.
dude. And I mean, like that's one of those things. It's like as you kind of I say move up in the tiers of performing live. Like I feel like we're kind of getting primed and ready as a band to kind of do that to where it's like if anything came up, it's like we bring two couple guitars, like maybe I probably bring three just to be flashy. But it's like you bring the handful of guitars that you need, the pedal board, cables, and
Mhm.
everything that you absolutely need, and then you hope that the venue has the rest. But I
Yeah.
mean, one of the other interesting things that I've learned because I'm still a novice when it comes to like the Helix board, it's even got plugins to where you can control media. Like if you have like a video or something like that, I saw like
Okay.
the breakdown of it to where it's like you can plug in so many things to control through that board. It's
Yeah.
insane, and I'm just like, I wonder, it's like, could like just the ideas. I'm like, could I control like a light thing where it's just like I have like an off, so, like, and I'm like, and thinking about the getting kind of geared up to talk with you today, I was like, you know what? I bet that would be like a lighting designer's worst nightmares. Like, let the lead singer have any control over, like, because I mean,
It
I want all the control, but that doesn't mean it's gonna be good.
yeah, if for something like that, like if there was a set scene where like, an artist wanted to like, hit a big button, I would definitely just do a fake button and hit it myself. I'm like, nah, I
Yeah.
don't trust you.
It's like, yeah, here you
I'm
go,
gonna hit it.
buddy. Here's
Yeah.
here's your button. You-
But something like that could be like especially if you don't have an LD or have somebody to run the lights for you, like, simple things, being able to like black out if you want to or whatever. Uh, but I think with controlling it from the Helix would probably be a little more complicated, and it'd be a whole setup every time you go into a new venue.
Oh yeah. I mean, and that's always the funny thing going from venue to venue. It's like, okay, we have our way of doing it.
Yeah.
How different is this venue setup? Because I mean, I've walked into venues where they have a great sound system, but
Mhm.
no sound guy. They're like, you didn't bring a sound guy. I was like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
you guys are barely paying enough for us to come here. Like,
Yeah, of course we didn't bring a sound guy.
it's like unless he was going to do it for a free burger, like I don't think we can afford it.
Yeah.
But man, so in your travels, like, what do you think is what was like the craziest or like where everything went the most haywire?
Ooh, good question.
Like, did you have
Hang
like just a complete like you got there, everything was good, and then just complete like everything went foobar, just absolutely. Well, something failed, and now we got to redo everything on the fly.
All right. I have two that I'm thinking of. There was one, we were doing a show at Universal, just like on one of those little stages they have in the parks.
Yeah.
Um, and so this was another as a rapper, and it was him. He had a drummer. I think he had an electric player as well, and then they had their tracks rig.
Hmm.
Uh, is a brand new. The tracks rig was brand new built, all new gear and everything. Should have been great. Go to sound check, everything works. We're getting everything. Um, Come back to do the show. Go to hit play, and if you remember me talking about that SMPTE time code, that digital clock,
Oh no.
it's an actual audio. It's a tone. It's a tone that's sending. It's sending, but it's super loud and high pitched. If you look up time code SMPTE like on YouTube, you can go and listen to it. It's just like it's super loud. And
Oh,
so something happened when they hooked the computer back up, and it it routed that tone through to the PA,
oh
and they
no.
could not figure it out how to get it
Wow.
back. And his set was only like 15 minutes, and we spent 10 minutes troubleshooting. And then he ended up doing like one song. He's like, "All right, peace," and walked off.
I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
that's all you get. Sometimes that's all you can do. I mean, dude, like even getting like a click track sometimes coming like all of a sudden it's like, why is the click track coming through the front? What is going on?
Yep. Yep.
Why? And then it's like you need to know your system inside and out just in case of these formalities. But it's like something about when it's like, all right, it's go time, and then things start going wrong. It's like for me, I'm like, how do I do this thing? Why is it hard to think now?
So that and that's the thing that for I think distinguishes like really good production people from like good or decent production people is that that showtime pressure
Oh
and
yeah.
how you react to it. So that's one thing. Like I don't like the stress or the pressure per se, but when it's like that ticking clock like shows in 5 minutes and we have to figure this shit out right now. If you can do it, it's incredibly satisfying. It's like
Oh,
just fixed it, did
it's
it,
like
done.
here is your crown. You are the
Yeah.
king of the land now. Like this is your domain.
But working in live events is being able to work under pressure and not snapping,
Yeah.
which I think is why there's so many like you think of like the grumpy old road dog or whatever. It's just because they've been working under pressure for years,
It's like
and
ice in their veins. They don't have time to like
yeah,
worry.
and especially it's I think it's changing now, but especially like years ago, it used to be like, keep your head down, just keep doing it, whatever. We'll take a bump of coke on the bus and we'll be good to go.
And that's
But
why Dan, the sound engineer, the production crew, it's like, man, what? How old are you guys? It's like we're all 27. It's like, why do
yeah,
you look 40?
But I think that's starting to change in the industry. I think people are starting to think more about like it's grueling to be on the road as much as you can be sometimes. And so I think a lot of people are starting to factor in like mental health, like maybe not pushing ourselves as much, maybe not having these crazy, you know, 7 a.m. to 2 a.m., call days or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, but so that kind of stuff's starting to shift a little bit, but there's still the pressure and the Showtime pressure of putting on the good show, which is fun. Like I still get butterflies every once in a while when I go to do a show, but that's just part of it. It's fun.
What was the other show that came to mind when you were thinking about when
Oh
everything went
yeah.
haywire?
We did a show and it was like south. It's like an hour south of London. This one was with Lecrae, and it was an event called Big Church Day Out, which was at this like old manor house and like this huge property, like straight up Downton Abbey style.
Love it.
And so they bring out this huge stage and like put it in one of their fields or something like that. And like this is the only thing that the like lord or duke still like owns the land, and this
Yeah.
is like the only thing he does with it, except for also it's also like a Camp David type situation. So the PM also uses the property for that. Um,
Ooh.
but so we go to do this Christian festival. We get out there, and we brought 4 cases for gear, and only one of them showed up. So that included like our portable console, uh,
Oh,
for our portable audio console.
just like lost in like shipping or like just like
Uh,
when you lose
the
your bags at the airport kind of thing?
So, yeah, what happened was when my buddy went to go check in, he lives in Dallas. He went to go check in Dallas, and the ticketing agent accidentally grabbed the tag from the station next to him. Hey, Winston, what's up?
Hello, Winston. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, Winston. You gonna be a little asshole, or you can go sit over there quietly. Um, but the gate agent tagged it with somebody else's bag. So like they switched names. So some poor dude's bag got sent to London. Um,
It's like why do I all of a sudden have these giant cases full of light gear? I'm going.
exactly. So it took us days to get them back as well, but that's beside the point. Um,
How did you guys like recover from it? Like, what did you do at that point?
so thankfully, this was the first time my production manager put air tags in all the cases. So like we could see them at JFK Airport at terminal whatever. Like we could see them there, even though we called like so many times. They're like, "Oh, they're not there." And I'm like, "They are big, like they are big black cases like that one."
Yeah, like the ones that you see like the stage crews rolling
Yeah,
around. And it's like it's very hard to miss. This is not someone's like just
yeah,
like
and
vacation suitcase.
they all have like a strip of bright pink tape that says like LDM or like front of house or something like they're very obvious. We eventually find a very nice like luggage person in London that helped us out and got it. So we did eventually get it back. I lost my suitcase for 5 days, I think. So I was washing my underwear and socks in the sink every night.
Very nice.
Very nice. But so we only had 1 case of gear, and we had to put together doing our show with what we had.
Man.
Uh, the biggest problem is like they had a console there that we could use. Um, the problem is we needed to be able. We didn't have our tracks rig with us, so we couldn't get the Ableton onto the console. But my PM, who is he's pretty smart, and the people that were at the show who are very smart, they managed to kind of cobble together a networking situation to basically network out the channels from the computer into the console. But that one was a very close call.
Got praise to the production manager on that
Yeah.
one.
And that show itself also was a culture shock as well because like I've done a lot of if anyone's ever been to a Christian festival before, they are terribly boring. Uh and they're so lame.
God bless him, but
But this one, this Christian festival, when I walked out to get a front of house and like people are starting to like set out their like blankets and chairs and stuff. And then I look over and like everybody has like a 12 pack of beer with them. And
yeah.
I was like, wait, what? And
It's
then
like
like
this
I
is
looked
different.
over and like where all the food trucks were, there was like a pub truck that was it was just all taps. And I
It's
was
like
like,
we're going to
okay,
worship the Lord, but we're going to get down.
but we're gonna get a little sloshed while we're doing it. But
Chug a beer for Jesus.
shotgun for Jesus.
Oh
Uh,
my god.
I did get tricked one time because there was at the show because there was a sign that said free beer pointing to a tent, and I said, "That's probably a trick," but I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go find out. It was
Only
a
one way
trick.
to know it was a trick. Yeah, there's only one way to know for sure. What was it? Was just free beer as the brand name or something?
I don't know. It was like some group, like the sales for the beer went to some organization or whatever, something like that, like some charity, and I was like, okay.
Why do I see the? It's like, yeah, for every beer that you buy, we send a beer to a child.
Some-
It's like I don't know.
for every beer you have, we give a 40 to to a wino on the streets.
Oh my god. I mean, dude, there's so much like when it comes to like different types of like venues and shows and things like that.
Yeah,
Like you said with the culture shock of it, there like that's the thing. Like my very limited experience being outside the country was very I wouldn't say like shocking and stuff. I was like expecting I wanted things to be different.
yeah,
And I totally if you can ever afford to like go outside the country for like I would say like you need to go explore the world for like at least like I wouldn't leave the country for more than like 3 weeks is like about the perfect time. You get like a
yeah,
week there to kind of settle in, a week where you can kind of really go hard. And then the last week is just like, all right, anything that we haven't done, we need to really like game plan to do it and then also come back.
yeah.
And I mean, God, I would love to see like just the different atmospheres and stuff. Because I mean, why do I keep thinking? Did you do a show in Saudi Arabia or something? Was it?
Uh,
Went
no, I
somewhere
didn't.
with the desert. Was it Egypt?
Well,
Maybe.
I went to Egypt, but that was just vacation.
Oh, okay, that was a vacation. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, dude, it's just funny because I mean, like the UK, from what I've seen in the internet, it's the drinking culture there is very different, and even in my limited experience in like Eastern Europe, the drinking culture is so different from than like a. Oh my God, Winston, is he?
I know. I'm getting nervous. I'm
He's
keeping
just
an eye on
walk.
him.
Yeah, just walking across the board.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine. He's like, you guys are boring. I don't want to be here anymore.
It sucks.
But I mean, like something like Amsterdam, like what was like some of the like everyone has the obviously the notion of Amsterdam being in like the pot capital of the world, and I think
Which
now currently it's all narcotics are decriminalized.
I can't remember. It might be. I know they've looked at doing stuff like that. Because there's a couple of those countries that have looked at decriminalizing like the use of them.
Yeah,
Because it's not helpful to just shove a drug user in jail and then just let them free.
yeah. It's
So
like
they'll get them into like rehabs and stuff and try and they'll actually some of those rehab facilities will provide drugs to them, but it's almost like when you quit smoking, you do like the big nicotine patch and the little one, the smaller one is you.
yeah, kind
But
of weans them off.
it weans them off and it also protects them because there's some drugs, I can't remember, not a doctor, don't know.
What?
But
We're not
there's some
doctors.
there's some drugs I know that like if you stop cold turkey, like it can kill you.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Uh
seen that with like people, like friends have had family members that
like
are
get
severely alcoholic.
like get the DTs, yeah. Yeah, that's it. There's other drugs that have that same similar kind of withdrawal. Weed doesn't. But
Weed doesn't, yeah. It doesn't have any hangover, Rick. No, do we? And there's no hangover.
um but so they basically will provide and it also provides safe needles so there's not
Sharing
diseases being
needles, yeah.
transmitted. Yeah. So they and I think so far in like limited testing it seems successful. But then also I think you can also just buy like shrooms and other hallucinogenics in
Yeah.
Amsterdam.
Well,
But
that's one thing about it. Like, I mean, and the music across all creative music kind of people that I've met in my experience, there's this perception. It's like, oh, hey man, like I've had people come up to us as the band, is like, hey man, do you guys got any like weed I can buy off you guys? And I'm like, no, no, no.
no,
Like,
no.
I like the guy
It
walks up to you, hey, can I purchase some marijuana? It's like I don't speak to cops without a lawyer present. It's like, why would you think I'm a cop? It's like
you gotta tell me.
you gotta tell me. Come on, you gotta tell me. It's like if you're a police officer. But I
It's
mean, like it is one of those things where it's like it's just kind of like it seems to go hand in hand. And with hallucinogens in particular, I mean, I think there's mushrooms or psilocybin. I think there is maybe some actual medical applications. But I think as people, there are people that are just going to be, oh, I just want to like. Some people can have a couple beers. Some
mhm,
people want to have all the beers.
exactly. Yep. Some people drink it all. Yeah, it's one of those, especially like, you're saying with musicians, and like this goes into like the industry changing, I think a good bit is like there's not a lot of that, like I still know friends that like, get super drunk every day on the road. And it sucks, but but here's like I early on I used to be like, yeah, like we'll have drinks tonight, show tomorrow, whatever. But if you stay up till 2 or 3 getting super drunk and you have to be up at 7 o'clock to load in and you're hungover, that's a real bummer.
That
It
makes things very not fun.
it's rough, and it gets to a point, it's like this is a really fun job, but it's a job I have to still take seriously.
I want to continue to have this job, and
Yeah.
if my performance starts lacking because of my decisions,
Yeah.
ooh.
And it's
Like,
still one of those things, like, it's, still definitely more flexible than other jobs, like, if we're doing shows at clubs, yeah, the production manager is buying everybody shots, of course, and we're gonna have a fun time. So,
yeah,
most people don't get shots while they work, but, it's one of those things, it's, like, definitely moderation you have to think
oh
about.
yeah. Well, that's one funny thing about like with vocalists and stuff. Like, obviously, vocalists, especially any kind of touring, performing like multiple times a week, super, like important. That's like, hey, you need to sound as good as possible. Especially like artists that I've talked to that are like performing. Like, I mean, I perform like I'd like to like say like, on average I'm performing at least 2 to 3 times a week, doing 2 to 3 hour shows. Excuse me, and by like Sunday morning, my voice just sounds like it's.
Yeah.
And I remember when I used to like smoke like all the time, like I was like, dude, like I can hear in like past recordings how my voice has kind of like taken a hit.
Yeah.
And I've noticed with vocalists in particular, they do this very dangerous game of where they've said, I'm not going to smoke weed anymore. I'm just going to do edibles.
Yeah.
I'm like, edibles, man, like they're great. Like, but like
Good luck.
sometimes they get the dosage wrong. Like sometimes, like when they're mixing that big batter of the gummy bears or like the stuff, it's like all the oil, the THC oil, kind of clumps into one like spot. So if you eat that
And
one like big star, like it's like, oh, you're going
and
for a trip.
uh-oh, you had one gummy, feel nothing. Next day, you have another gummy, you feel everything.
You're about to
You
talk to God.
you you feel the heartbeat of the universe, fella.
Bro. And I mean, like, and psychedelics in particular. I remember we played a show in Tennessee for a music festival. It was kind of an up and coming music festival. It wasn't like any huge acts and stuff, but
Mhm.
one year there was a, uh, a Grateful Dead cover band or a tribute band.
Mhm.
Bro, I don't know. I saw this dude, like, he took so much, like, something out of a dropper and put it onto a piece of paper, then ate the paper. And then he went and performed later and did phenomenal. And
Yeah.
I could not wrap my head around it. I could not imagine, like,
There's some of those guys, I don't get how they do it.
you're just built different.
There's a backline tech I work with, love him to pieces. Great guy, phenomenal, drummer and phenomenal drum tech as well. Um, but he smokes all the time. He's, in his mid-40s now. He's like, "Yeah, I've been doing it since, like, high school, middle school, whatever." Like, that's just how he
Yeah.
grew up. And I'm like, "How do you do this every day?" I'm just like, and it's like multiple times. He'd say going for a walk is what we say. And so I'm like, "How are you doing this all the time and still being incredible at your job?"
Yeah. I mean,
But
that tolerance build up, I mean, because I
yeah.
mean, there is something about it where it's like you get to a point, like if you take like a tolerance break or the tea break as the kids call it, I think still. You take like a couple weeks off and then you come back and it's like, oh yeah, like I'm like getting to the moon again.
Yeah.
But there's that sweet spot where if you can get where it's like maybe you smoke once or twice a week do it like that, or like, there's you can get to this point where it's like it's under control. Like
Yeah.
you can be like, I know where I'm at. I know if I want to go higher, I can, but I'm not because I want to keep it in this good zone. There's like a green
And
zone of where you want.
it's like the same as drinking, like going out with friends and stuff and being like, half the time I'm focusing on my friends, half the time I'm like, all right, where am I at right now? How much more? Maybe one more drink, maybe just a beer should be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's so much prep work that goes into it too. If you're like trying to be smart about it, like beer and stuff, like from like if you're doing like a diet calorie consideration, which if you're getting drunk, you're probably not.
No, 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 no.
But like there's this, I remember talking to a friend that was like trying to do like he was trying to get real in shape for like a bodybuilding competition.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just telling me, he's like, yeah, dude, I mean, I might like do some vodka, like I'll sip on some whiskey just to like, because it's like it's sugar versus calories and all this other like stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, the thing is, as soon as the shots come out, that's when things always go like off the rails,
Yeah.
because you've been sipping on like maybe even like a Tropicalia or like something that's like a 6% beer, or
Yeah.
you can get pretty good, but like as soon as you take a shot and like you just like, for me, that little switch in your head that says maybe you should chill, maybe drink a water, like after like the once like the third or fourth beer, and then someone's like a shot, and then after that it's like you're not even thinking.
I'm at the age where I'm tracking. It's like every 2 drinks, make sure I have 2 for 1, 2 drinks, 1 glass of water, and just
Yeah,
gotta
you
kind
got
of
to
be
mix
riding
the
that,
water in there.
riding that all night.
So, Gabe, and then trying to think about one of the things I wanted to definitely do to kind of give some folks that if they're like, you love music, obviously, like
Yeah.
you're super creative, you're super, especially for those who don't know, when we did a podcast with Luke about D&D and stuff, we did one with Daniel where we played and stuff like that. There's a lot of super creative people that will maybe want to get involved in like the production of music and stuff. Like, what would from your own experience, what would be your personal recommendation to like advice for people to get into that kind of like atmosphere or like that kind of career?
It's mostly just networking. It's networking and personality is what it is. Um,
You got some personality on you, sir.
so it's some of the best ways, like the way I started. I know a lot of people, especially like some of the other people that work in Christian music. They all starting at their church, doing production there, and then like kind of slowly moving up and looking for opportunities or people to network with. Another common way is like applying for a job at a local production or AV company. A lot of them are usually hiring, it might just start as like warehouse work. And then you'd be like, hey, I'm interested in like actually going on shows. And so they might start sending you out on shows. Um, but yeah, a lot of the industry is a lot smaller than I think people know. And like there's like pockets, like there's the country pocket, there's a hip hop pocket, there's like rock and country pockets are kind of,
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap with that,
there's
I
a lot of
feel.
overlap there. Yeah. But it's like if people like you, they'll talk more about you and want to send you on shows. Like you have to be good at your job and competent, but it's a lot of like, oh, this is a cool person. They're really cool to hang out. Like we're gonna be together for a week. I don't want them to be an asshole. I don't want to hang out with at all.
Yeah, if you have to spend 12, 16-hour days together,
Yeah.
being able to be a good hang is definitely a part of that. And I mean, like, is there any kind of stuff that you would say would be helpful? Like, is there any other like, what's the word? Like kind of like extracurricular stuff or things that you could do where, like, like with Ableton's a huge one that I hear is like getting started on Ableton and stuff like that. Like, is that like something you might recommend for people just so they can have like that back of house like kind of experience or?
Ableton, more for the band side of it. It's at least audio. I'm a little bit more unfamiliar with what how people start. Audio is probably the easiest one to get into with because that's the first thing bands hire. Like I assume if you were looking at expanding, an audio person is the first one you'd go for.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
my personal band, it'd be like if we start going around the southeast and we're playing like 2 or 3 times a week in a different state, and it's like, hey, we
yeah.
need someone that can. We'll set up everything. Like the band right now is at the capacity. So like if we started playing like around the southeast region of the United States, like we could definitely get there, set up, do everything that. But then once we start playing, we need somebody Because I
to
mean,
actually mix.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then lights and stuff. Like I mean, that
It,
that's where you get into that next tier.
yeah. Um, doing like local clubs or like bars and stuff that have stages, like a lot of times those people are looking for extra helper hands to get started in, so it's a lot of like getting a lucky break. Like when I got Lecrae, it was through a series of events. My old boss at the church, Jeremy McBriar, set
Jerry
me up.
Bear.
Jerry Bear, love him to pieces. He set me up to do a summer camp where I met another guy named Jason Wilson. And through, again, a series of events, like we kind of clicked together. And he's like, oh, I want to bring you out on more shows. So he started hiring me more. And eventually down the line, he got Lecrae as a client. And so he brought me along with him for that. So it's a lot of that kind of like when I said like I just kind of fell into it. That was a little bit of a joke, but a
Kind
lot.
of very accurate. You were
Yeah.
competent enough to be in the atmosphere that or the like the circles that you were in, and then once they got to know you, like everyone that I know that
Yeah.
knows you is like, dude, I love Gabe. He's such a good guy. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, it's who he is. 'Cause, I mean,
Yeah.
dude, there's so much like I'm sure you can speak on your own experience, but it's like a handful of shows where there's a full production crew or stuff that I've been in. Like, I mean, it's going back to like theater and stuff when like because I remember you as the Wizard of Oz. I remember that was one of my favorite performances of yours.
Oh, that one was real fun. I was just talking with friends about that yesterday. Uh, oh man, that was fun. That was fun. I miss doing theater too.
Oh, dude, that was one thing I wish like I mean, I was obviously like the meathead football player, jock and stuff, but I had friends like you and I would see all the
Yeah.
cool stuff and I was like, man, I can't do everything, but it's like if I could have swapped out it, like if I could have this sounds so stupid meathead. It's like if I could have swapped out a math class to do theater. It's like who needs math?
Who needs math? I'll do theater. They got math in there. They got to cut things.
Well, I mean, dude, the production oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the theater production people. What
From
the cup
from Liquid, the Lindals.
Lindals, yeah, like dude, they across the
I
board, everyone was speaking their praises of how well they ran that. And then I mean, a couple years after we graduated, they did something for Disney Plus.
Yeah, they did. There was a show on Disney Plus called Encore,
Yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
so they took a class from like the 90s. Um, and they brought the Lind. So the Lindals retired after our year. So I was their final class. Um,
No, there's no parallel to why they retired that. It was just that they decided it wasn't because anything that Gabe did.
no. They're just old.
Yeah.
But they're wonderful. Ken and Patty, I doubt you'll ever listen to this, but I love you guys very much. Thank you for all you did for me. Um, but they basically like got together like the people that were like in theater class in the 90s brought them back to do a show. I think they did Oklahoma.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But that was cool.
Yeah, I mean, because there's so much out there, and I mean, like everyone's got their own like hangups, maybe, or like their own opinions about like church and like Christian music and stuff. But I mean, like getting into theater, or if you're at a high school that has like an incredible theater program, like we were blessed to have,
Yeah.
like getting in there at a young age, where you just if it's something that you want to dip your feet in, like definitely, I think we both would agree, like that's a good place to start. And then even if I'm all for going to church and stuff like that. I mean, I love, the church that I'm at and doing to work with too. But what's crazy is you don't realize like, man, this church has all these resources and they're trying to put on, you know, some people like have their like I'm not talking about like what's that? Oh God, not Lakewood Church in Dallas, but there's another like Dallas church that got so much like flack for their Christmas Eve service.
Oh, that was well there was what's it, Prestonwood in Dallas. They do this huge
Flying
Christmas
drummers
production
on,
every yeah. But
yeah,
I
just
will say
flying around.
I love shitting on mega churches as much as the next guy. One of my favorite pastimes. The one thing, and I do not like that church anyways. But the one thing I'll give in the defense of that is that stuff that they showed was like it's a Christmas pageant they do that they it's a ticketed event. So it's like
Yeah,
not it's not a service. It's just like a big patch. So it's like that's a
It,
little okay.
yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with flexing. I mean, if you've built, I mean, I hate to like say church is a business or stuff like that, but I mean, if you're doing well as a congregation and people are wanting wanting to like give their offering and it goes towards that, I mean, I can understand that. But my point being is like if you can get plugged in with networks like you're saying, like people in places that have those resources, and you can get your dip your foot in, and
Yeah.
with that much of a like a support, and like, hey, like this is how we do it, this is kind of like industry standards and stuff like that, things, it could be a great way for most people to kind of get into that production like
Yeah.
atmosphere, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, and it because they're always looking for volunteers because most of those churches just run on volunteers. So like it's a great way to have like top of the line professional equipment to practice and hone your skills on. Like that's what I did. Like I was able to learn and practice on um, the equipment at the church we were at, and through that, I was able to kind of launch myself.
Yeah, and I mean, you took it like on like you when like what was the moment that you knew that you wanted to kind of do this as a life career, like it's like actually like this was like, nah, this is what make like what was the moment that you were like, this is what I want to do with my life?
I think it was probably it was ninth or 10th grade. It was a fallout, which was a winter retreat we did for middle school students.
Yeah.
And it was like the first one. So that was the first year that Jeremy McBriar, worked at Grace.
Gerber.
Jer and he was working with Grace, and he was able to rent us like 4 lights. And he had connections with basically like this big kind of projector screen style wall. And so me and him and I think Kyle Sklenar came with us.
Oh, I miss that guy too.
Love him to pieces, love him to pieces. But we went and like the day before and like set it all up, and it was an absolute disaster, dumpster fire. It looked terrible, but I had such a great time, and I was like, I could do this. I could do this full time, I think.
Yeah.
Um, and then I just kind of like just kept doing it, kept designing, kept programming, and
Just
having
kind of
fun.
kept running with it, man. I mean, because that's like one of the things that is always kind of cool, and the thing that kind of got me inspired to do this podcast instead of going to therapy was just I can talk to so many cool people that have lived in different avenues of life. They
Yeah.
like I went music, you went lighting. I talked to a couple sound engineers and stuff. We had the guy that I would do a lot of recording with, Brad, on the podcast, and he talked about all the stuff that he's done. And I
Hmm.
mean, it'd be really funny if I actually got like a smart person, like someone that's like a PhD in like physics and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, I mean, like I'm basically trying to copy Joe Rogan's like formula, just like have anyone that's really interesting. Like, like
Yeah.
a couple of my friends, like, dude, I saw you had an MMA fighter on there. It's like, you trying to be Joe Rogan. It's like, well, first off, Joe Rogan was Joe Rogan when he started his podcast. I am just me.
You're just Jared.
I am the Monday, the one and only dude. But I mean, it's such a great like way. And doing it like this is the first one that we've done in this kind of like setting where it's through
Yeah.
like the video chats. And
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I can kind of connect with some more people and just like really dig into other but like people's like upbringings and like how they got into these crazy, like the fact that you're in DC right now.
Yeah. I live in DC.
It's like, man, it's like, and you travel all over the world. It's like, hopefully being able to where it's like I connect with people like this and stuff like that to show like, hey, you can make your life whatever you want. You just got to like kind of follow these roadmaps like people like you have done,
Yeah.
and it's possible.
Yeah. It's it's definitely like, and I think like people will look like, oh, I want to do what that person's doing, but it's like everybody's path looks different, and what everybody ends up doing is going to be different.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I'm a lighting designer, but this past week I did a couple things. I was a video installer, I was a stage manager, I was an electrician. So it's like you got to kind of have like
Wear many
a
hats.
repertoire. Yeah. So a lot of people specialize in like I specialize in lighting, but I can do video, or I understand video. I can set up video. I know a lot of audio guys usually will also do management stuff. It's pretty common,
Like
which
artist management or
some do that. A lot do production management or tour management.
okay, that kind of
So
management.
yeah, not like managing artists. I know like one or two that are like a manager, which is uncommon, but
Yeah,
usually it's just it's also mostly because out of necessity. Like the first crew person that gets hired is the audio guy. Well, now that we have a crew person, we need like a liaison between the venue and the band. We'll just make it the audio guy. That's how he becomes a production manager. That's how he becomes a tour manager.
that's
It's
how he
usually
that's how he evolves into the next
yeah.
phase of
That's it's why you don't see a lot of lighting people become managers. Mostly because I, from a lot of the lighting guys I talk to, nobody wants to do that. It's a shitty job. Nobody wants to manage.
like all
I,
these fools. Like I could only imagine. Like, oh, wait, you're telling me I have to like I have to manage these musicians that are like high and
these
drunk all the time.
these literal children I have
These-
to wrangle. Um,
Sometimes we are a little buck wild.
it's like I want to just walk into the venue. I have a USB stick with my show on it, and we're gonna call it a day.
Oh
Um,
my god. I mean, man, that's one of the cool things. And I mean, you know, the fact that you're doing this and stuff, I've always been super like I've always been super proud of just the friends I've been able to like keep in my life. And it's just like I love the fact that I have a handful of them that are really like they said, I'm gonna do this,
mhm.
and you're one of them that said, I'm gonna do this. And then it's like, dude, you're on tour, you're doing it, man. Like you're killing it.
There's a bit there like I didn't know if it was gonna happen or not. Because I was kind of doing some shows off and on in college. I would take days off class to go do shows, and then I was like, "Ah, I don't know if I can sustain this as a full time job." Um, but then again, just keep kind of stumbling into place and be like, "Oh, another show! Oh, another show!" And it's honestly still like that. Like especially as a contractor, like I don't have a set schedule, and so I basically work in like 2 month chunks at a time. It's like okay, we got what we got out of this month, you know.
Yeah.
Like right now, I have shows up until the beginning of June, and then I'm like, all right, we'll see what else happens next.
Let's see what comes next. How many days of the year do you think you're on the road?
I would probably say 25 to 35% of the year I'm on the road,
Yeah.
which is considerably lower than some of my friends that travel and like hustle. I have decided to prioritize like being chill a little bit. So it's like, yeah, let me make my money. Let me do what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna push myself and be touring like in 9 months out of the year or whatever.
Yeah,
Like
because I've
I
heard like a number hear a lot is like you just be prepared to be on the road like 250 out of 365.
yeah, I have zero interest in that. Which is why like more recently now I'm looking at like I'm thinking about stopping touring, that side of my job just because I'm like it's brutal. Like I make the most money off of it, but also I'm like this really sucks. Like, I just
Yeah,
want I'd rather be home more than being on the bus with
a bunch
11
of
other 11 other stinky dudes, so
you want to be home with your wife and cats. I can understand that.
yeah, exactly. So, I'm starting to try to make that transition now, so, like, one thing I can do that I've started to expand more is, um and it's becoming more common, especially since COVID, because a lot of people left the industry during COVID because they just had to get other jobs.
Yeah,
And a lot of them were like, "Oh, this is better over here. I'm not being, it's not brutal every day."
the
And I get like
airports and everything.
comfortable, yeah, I get like regular working hours. Um, but so a common thing now is you'll have basically programmers and you'll have board ops. So I'm trying to get more into the programming side, which is I have a software that pre-visualizes a rig for me. I can build out like an animated rig, and then I can physically control it from my console. So I can program everything just how it'll look on stage, and then I can send that out on tour, and I don't actually have to go.
Nice. Like,
So
here's my product. Just take it with you. Pay me for the work I did at my studio home.
exactly. Yeah. So I get, same amount of money for less time and work, and I get to I'm in my office all day. So
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a bad idea.
yeah.
Or like, do you think you'll be staying like in the north, like DC, Philly area? Like, you think about like getting like more like a like I guess like a residency up there? Is that like another option for you?
Um, I'm honestly the only reason that we're here is just because me and my wife Emily, we just really love DC.
Yeah.
And we've always like come up here on vacations and stuff to travel. Like if we had like a long weekend or something. And so my wife took a job at a hospital up here. So really, the only consideration when moving for me is that close to a major airport would be nice.
Yeah, they got one of those there.
So I think we like it up here. I think we'll think about sticking around for a while. The other option to move to would be we love the Pacific Northwest and like Seattle. And so what my wife does, she's a anesthesiologist assistant, which is like a PA level.
Yeah,
So kind of like a nurse anesthetist as well. But they're not allowed to practice in every state. There just hasn't been legislation passed in all of them to allow for their
like a
credentialing.
universal like criteria of.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, state like each state has their own medical board, licenses their own doctors. It's just these states don't have credentialing for her specialty.
I gotcha.
But in Seattle and in Washington State, they I think just passed or are very close to passing a law to allow them to get certified in Washington. And so we'd be like, oh, that'd be beautiful up there. Like it's absolutely gorgeous. I think that's the most beautiful part of the country is the Northwest. But
Yeah, I mean, dude, the forest and especially if you like nature and stuff
yeah,
like that. I mean, it's
gorgeous.
hard to compete. But yeah, dude. I mean, kind of gonna go to wrapping it up here now. But it's like, dude, like I said, I'm super proud of you. I love like hanging out with you, playing D&D and everything, and hearing all the stories. And I appreciate you definitely taking some time to like sit here and talk with us, brother.
Yeah.
As a private contractor, what's the best way if anyone sees this and is like, man, that guy is really freaking cool. I think I want to like hire him from the how. What's the best way people can find you for your lighting and designing and all that stuff?
Well, I don't. I'm a pretty poor businessman myself. Uh, like I never post pictures of anything because I'm too lazy to do it. I just forget about it. But if you're interested and want to chat, probably my email address is best. Gabe GABE at arclighting arclighting.co.
Nice. Yeah, brother. Like, I, I love it. I love hearing your stories. Love hanging out with you. The last thing
Hey,
I
man.
want you to, if you could do me one favor, could you whip out your sword for us real quick?
Of course, I will whip out my fucking sword for you, brother. You know.
Dude, see, this is the Seabass. If you're listening, I know you're running the cameras and stuff. This is the picture I want to have as the thumbnail. It's just Gabe with his sword of Rohan. Like, oh my god! Like of
King
all the
Theoden sword.
King Theoden sword. Oh brother, and
Yeah,
that's a legit one too.
yeah. This is a real sword with a real edge that I told my wife it was a Christmas gift, and I told her I was like, "This is incredible. This will send me to the hospital, and there's nothing we can do about that."
She's like, babe, just to let you remember, I do anesthesiology. I'm not like a nurse like that. Like if you cut yourself real bad, we've got to go to the hospital.
Oh, she'll do it. She'll stitch me up if she has to. She's like, we don't need to bother the ER. I got this.
I got this. That's awesome, man.
But
Oh,
a good example of just the kind of marriage we have. This was my Christmas gift I didn't know anything about, and I also got her a sword for Christmas. So
God, what? Just like was it like a character sword, or what kind of? What did you get her?
uh, I had to get a custom commission sword for her that was from her favorite book series. It's
Nice.
like the main character's sword.
Oh God, I love it, man. I'm so
Yeah,
happy for you, brother.
we didn't even talk about nerd stuff this time.
Well, I'm kind of on a little bit of a time crunch today,
Yeah,
but yeah, dude. One of the things I'd love to do when you next time you're back in Georgia is I definitely would love to set up like a actual like our campaign, like do like a podcast like of the
yeah,
D&D session.
that'd be fun.
Oh, it's like that. We did a test run with Daniel on a one shot, and I think that was I think I was either tired, drunk, high, or something, or all of them. And I was
All
like, "Oh,
three.
this was not the best performance you did, Jared." But
Yeah,
yeah, dude, next time you're in Georgia, definitely I would love to set that up and we can get some more time to talk and nerd out a little bit more because, God, dude, just with the friendship that we have, we could talk for hours and hours and hours.
for sure. We've known each other for so long.
Bro, and I'm blessed.
Driving to school every day, picking me up so I didn't have to take the bus in the
Bro,
old Charger.
Dude, I miss that Charger so much too, dude. Oh, I might get another one of these days. Get a little wild. Something with a
Yeah.
lot more power than just the stock V6.
Something with a little stank on it.
Just a little stanky yanky. Oh my god. Well, Gabe, brother, thank you again, man. Definitely can't wait. Let me know when you're back in Georgia, brother. And then
For sure.
thank you so much for being on the Strange Herd podcast with us. And the catchphrase I'm trying to see if we can get some like traction on is just telling everyone, hey man, stay strange.
I got you. Hold up. Hey, I was about to do a full spin in my chair and I realized I'm wearing wired headphones.
Yeah, you're
And
wired in.
that was about to be a disaster. So I'm just gonna
Clip it.
stay strange. I hope that was it. I couldn't remember after the whole headphone debacle.
That was perfect, brother. Oh, all right, man. Well, hey, I'll see you probably tomorrow for rolling some dice, I think, right?
Rolling some bones tomorrow night. Yeah.
Hey, man, brother. Love you, brother. See you soon, all right?
Love you, Jared.